Wow, do we have a treat for you, the Alpha viewers? We are here with none other than Christina Mittermeier. As you know, one of the world's most influential photographers, Sony artisan of imagery, inspiring people all over the world with her work and her imagery. She has published over 26 books so far on conservation issues. She is an icon of Instagram, and she is here with us. Welcome back to the Alpha, Christina. It looks like I lost sound, so just letting everyone know.
Oh, no, that was me. Sorry.
Oh, you were. Okay, all right. I thought you said something, so.
I just said it's so good to be here.
Okay, I can hear you now. So it's good to have you here. What are you up to? Where are you now? What have you been doing for the past 6 months?
Paul and I got home maybe 5 weeks ago. We had been traveling in the Bahamas for the past, believe it or not, almost 9 months. And it was good to just come home here on Vancouver Island, British Columbia, get back to our regular routine and just spend time relaxing at home.
That's really great. And we do have a treat for people who haven't had a chance to watch the Sea Legacy, The Voyage, the new series that we have together on the Alpha Universe channel, because we're gonna show everyone what you've been doing exactly. You're also doing a fundraiser right now with Omaze, right? If people go to omaze.com/oceans, they'll be able to enter.
Yeah, that is such an exciting opportunity. This was an idea that we had jointly with Omaze, and Omaze has always been really supportive of our work, just like Sony. And they came up with this idea of having somebody come and spend maybe a week with us on board of Sea Legacy One and be part of the crew and help us do whatever it is that we're doing. We might be looking for dolphins. We might be snorkeling with whales. We might be, sailing across the ocean. But it's an amazing opportunity for somebody to come and see firsthand live on board Sea Legacy One. So I hope people will enter, because anytime people enter, it supports the work that we do with Sea Legacy for conservation. So thank you for checking it out.
Yeah, double whammy. You get to enjoy yourself and also contribute to this important work. So let's give people a sense of what it's like on Sea Legacy One. We'll roll the first video of the voyage, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Here, you want to do this?
This one, I can't reach this.
Here we go. Just keep pulling that one.
Kind of important that things don't get tangled down here.
We got to keep a bit of tension on this. So in the boatyard, when I say everything was done to this boat, everything was done to this boat. Basically, I had to strip it and rebuild it. We upgraded everything. But I like that. I like that type of work. I like getting dirty and nitty gritty. And of course, that's how I've always run my life. It's all about a leap of faith. Everything will work out. We're going to have some hiccups and some problems along the way. But if you don't jump in, it's never going to happen.
For the first 3 months that we had this boat, what we were doing was learning so much, from how do you handle a call on the radio to, what is this line for?
Which one is it?
It's a halyard. It's caught on the line.
Is it the halyard?
Where do you keep your food? I mean, it'd be super easy to just, put everything in a single bin and just close it. But it's much easier if you say, okay, all our carbs are here, all our vegetables are here.
All the dive equipment that we have. Then we have rebreathers and we have oxygen booster pumps and, 30 Sony cameras. All these systems have to work for this boat to function. At first, it just seemed like it was never going to happen. Pretty soon, this turned into 100% full-on diving and camera systems, and now we are a media machine.
So creating those systems definitely makes your life easier, so much more pleasant.
Once all systems were dialed and we tweaked it and we got everything working, now we're free to launch off before hurricane season in July and head off around the world for the next 4 years.
I knew what Paul wanted to buy was not a boat. He wanted to buy freedom.
We create the best visuals in the world of our oceans to be able to turn over those assets for not money, but for conservation. That's what motivates me.
We can't just be on the sidelines watching the ocean die. We have to do something. Making the Bahamas our first destination was really important to me. I've been to the Bahamas twice before. There is an enormous amount of hope when you see a country with a vision for a blue economy that really is going to be built in the protection of its resources. And the reason we came back now is because the story is not over.
We need to go do the best storytelling in the world with the best team, and at the foundation of that is the boat.
Does it look like we know what we're doing or not quite?
We came down looking for a weather window to cross the treacherous Gulf Stream.
Separating mainland United States of America and the Bahamas is the mighty Gulf Stream. We had to cross it.
Crossing the Gulf Stream is it can be extremely treacherous. If you get the wrong winds and tides mixed with the Gulf Stream, it can be very, very dangerous. So it's critical to make sure that you cross it at the right time with the right weather. If the window is good enough to cross the stream, then make a run for it.
We did not want to be in 20-foot seas smashing in these steep rising waves on our inaugural expedition. I mean, that could blow up the whole expedition. Everyone's tired. Everyone's sort of, it's a lot of work to have 24-hour shifts and people aren't sleeping and they're on a boat this size. You can't have a huge crew. This is my first sailboat. We'll figure it out. Right now, we have a squall, so I'm holding the bow of the boat into the wind at 25 knots. We are about to go through a very high-speed ocean current cut. The current gets up to 4 or 5 knots. It's only 25 knots, what can go wrong?
What could go wrong?
White smoke pouring out of the port engine. Coolant is spraying everywhere. We've got a major problem. That was a sinking feeling. How do we end up here from the dream of seeing the Bahamas just 30 miles away? We just have to shoot that little cross of weather tomorrow. We had our weather window to be tied up to a fuel dock in Florida. If this is going to happen when everything is so dialed, what's going to happen down the road?
We'll just have to wait and see.
So in order to make our weather window, we have to leave here no later than early tomorrow morning. The mechanics are going to work late tonight, but they've got the port engine, they've got the new coolant hose on, they've got the new belts on, but we have to make sure this engine doesn't overheat. There's no airlocks in that coolant. So far, everything seems good.
Hey, Paul, I'm just going to do a forward and reverse check. Don't be alarmed.
To all of a sudden see this boat just jump up and go was a great, great feeling. Off we went, sailing across the Gulf Stream to the Bahamas. The engines seem to be running well. The only uncertainty is weather.
So I still get goosebumps every time I watch that. And I've probably watched it as part of this, work that we're doing at least 20 times. And it's still, every time, it still happens. That's some incredible work, incredible footage from what you guys are doing.
Well, we're so grateful for the partnership with Sony, because that's the only way that we can make this work. And Sea Legacy One is powered by Sony. So it's amazing to be able to do the work that we do. And it's funny even for me to see it like this, just encapsulated in, what is it, 5-6 minutes?
Yeah.
But it's been a grand adventure, and it has had enormous impact.
That's wonderful to hear. So let's talk about that for a little bit. What was the goal of the mission as you set it out to be? And then what do you hope to achieve, let's say, by the end of the first year?
Yeah, so it was COVID year, and we were all stuck at home, if you remember.
Yes.
And Paul and I had bought the Sea Legacy One exactly before COVID hit. And it was sitting in a dock in Maryland, and we couldn't get to it. The previous owners of the boat were super kind, and they helped us kind of like get it sort of ready. But we were at home just wondering, how can we get back to work? And so in October, Paul said to me, let's get on our camper. And we drove across Canada, and then dropped down in the Dakotas, kept going across the US all the way to Maryland. And we got on the boat. And at the time, Michaela, we really didn't have a plan. We just wanted to kind of like figure out if there was an opportunity to work. So we got to the Bahamas. And as you know, we've been working in the Bahamas for a while. The original goal was just to showcase a country that has already created a lot of protection. Because believe it or not, Bahamas is the only country where sharks are fully protected in the entire country. So it's illegal to fish sharks. And as a result, there's a big tourism industry that revolves around shark diving, and there is abundance in the ocean for the local fishermen. So we wanted to celebrate that. And then Dorian hit in 2019. Just a few weeks from now, we'll be celebrating 2 years. So we had to go back. And it's amazing when you spend time in an area, and when you really focus on a particular geography, how you can start finding the tipping points and the places where you can be most helpful. As we traveled throughout the Bahamas, meeting other conservation organizations, talking to local people, working with local filmmakers, we started uncovering all sorts of places where we could be of help. So for example, Bahamas is really committed to reaching 30% protection of its oceans by 2030. And just by encouraging and shining a light that's inspiring and hopeful on the work that's already happening, we're able to accelerate the process. We're also going to be announcing in just a few weeks a partnership that we have with another nonprofit that's discovered the largest seagrass bed in the world. And that is important because seagrass is a great carbon sink. So this could be part of the solution to the emissions in the atmosphere. So I'm very excited to share more of that soon.
That's wonderful. And we'll get to give people a glimpse into the Bahamas part as well with the next episode that we're going to play. But you just mentioned the carbon emissions, and I do want to talk a little bit about that because the UN released just this Monday a new report on climate change. It predicts devastating consequences if we don't cut CO2 emissions right away. And as we know, that requires a concerted effort on all of our parts. So you've been fighting for this for such a long time. You are one of the planet's biggest influencers on it. You've had a chance to see kind of what changes people's minds, what makes them feel a sense of urgency. And I'm assuming that everyone who's here with us today really cares deeply about the environment and feels this urgency, but individual efforts sometimes don't go far enough, right? So how do we influence the people around us to more effectively care about this and take responsibility?
Yeah, first of all, if you have not read the report, I highly recommend that we all do. The thing that caught my attention as I was going through it was just the language that was used to say, the oceans are warming, and this is unequivocally because of human impact. Forest fires, it is almost certainly because of human impact. I mean, there was a time when we could kick the can down the street and blame it on somebody else or ignore it or pretend it wasn't happening. But We all know that it is here right now, and we're almost too late now to solve it. So we have to really focus our attention in political influence, but also on personal influence. And with this, I don't want to cause any eco-anxiety, because I know we're all trying to do everything we can, but there's so much more that we all can do. So for example, not everybody can be vegan or vegetarian, but we all know by now that reducing significantly the amount of meat we consume has a great impact on emissions, how much time we spend in our vehicles. But did you know, Michaela, that our banks, the places that we take for granted, these financial institutions, are some of the biggest investors into, the industries that are very destructive, or fossil fuel industries?
Oh.
I've taken all my money out of my bank, and I researched financial institutions that give me the option of making investments into the type of future I want to see. So I know it's a pain in the neck to switch bank accounts, but it's something very simple that we all can do to make sure that our money is actually doing the work for us. And I'm going to say, it's embarrassing to be the person that's always speaking up, and you don't want to be that person that is unpleasant at the dinner table reminding everybody that this is real. But I think this is the time for all of us to raise our voices, to start demanding action. And it is not just personal action, it's, in everything we do, from our work of place, from the places that we shop in. And don't be afraid of speaking up when you see something that can be done better.
Well, first of all, that's a great tip. So I'm going to get on that right away after the event,
Yes.
because I had no idea.
I know.
Secondly, this feels kind of like the right time too, because I don't know if you've noticed this yourself and the people around you, but it seems to me that a lot of people are coming through this pandemic questioning their mission in the world, and if they really want to keep that job or stay in the same location or continue living away from their families and that kind of a thing. Do you see the world holding on to this momentum toward, like, let's call it more conscious freedom? And can we make this a lasting change?
I think so. I think COVID has taught us that we are capable of great sacrifice, and that we're also able to put our lives in perspective. And the biggest lesson for all of us really has been, what does it all mean, and what am I doing with my life? And so I think about my own life and the fact that I chose to be a photographer and then an activist. And the question that people ask me the most often is like, how are you going to make a living? If you don't work a 9 to 5, if you don't work for the big man, how are you going to support yourself? And it takes a bit of a leap of faith to find that determination in yourself to say, I'm going to find my bigger mission in life. I'm going to find the purpose for my own existence. And instead of leading with the question of how much money am I going to make, is what kind of difference can I make? And so stop asking for permission to do that for yourselves, and just declare yourselves for whatever cause you think is righteous, and just start working on it today, and then build the rest of your life around it. Because it doesn't matter how much money we make. If we don't have a planet to live on, it doesn't matter. So I think we need an army of people that are determined to see, a different kind of future. And we just have to challenge the way it is. Just because it is this way right now doesn't mean this is the way that it has to be.
Yeah, that's great advice, and the call to action that I think a lot of people need to hear. So thank you for that. You mentioned the Bahamas earlier, obviously as part of your trip. And most people think of tropical beaches and exotic accommodations when they think of the Bahamas. So how do we get people not to assume that everything is okay based on that perception that they have, and really get them to care further?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to say that when Paul and I thought about Sea Legacy One, we were not thinking about, we're going to cruise around the world. We really wanted to have this iconic vessel that was a symbol of hope for wherever we go. And sure enough, that's exactly what's happening. When Sea Legacy One's orange sails come into any port, there's an excitement and people are welcoming it. But, the pandemic has been devastating for everybody, but much more so for countries that are not as well off as the United States or Canada. So in the Bahamas, where such a large percentage of the economy is based on tourism, it has been particularly devastating. the first few months that we were there, all the marinas, all the hotels, all the restaurants were closed and empty, and people were in real financial trouble. So even though, yes, there's beautiful beaches and yes, it is the tropics, they're also facing the consequences of hurricanes. Hurricane Dorian, I mean, I cannot even tell you the level of destruction that this storm caused in the Abacus. It was just like leveled. And people are just now starting to recover from it. So I think the muscle that we really need to exercise at this time in the history of humanity is empathy, and try to feel for others and try to help others. You and I were just talking before we came on about Haiti and how awful what's happening there again, and Afghanistan. And you were saying, it's just like this cherry picking of one disaster after another. And it is just because our planet is in trouble. Our planet is desperately seeking for us, for humanity to choose a different path forward. And this is the time.
Yes, this is definitely the time. Let's look at some of the footage that you got in the Bahamas and sort of, I think it really encapsulates one of the reasons why it's just so important that we save everything and why it's just such a delicate balance to hold. So let's roll that and we'll come back and talk about it.
We crossed the Gulf Stream from Florida to Bahamas. It was the first time that we as a crew were sailing this boat on our own. You know that your safety, your well-being is in the hands of your teammates. And so building that bond of trust and friendship is critical.
That lifted everybody's spirits to leave the chaos and the hardships of that engine in West Palm.
Oh my God.
So we're here now to gather the videos, the photographs that are going to move people to care about the Bahamas.
From that first day, it's just like an open canvas. Where are we gonna go? We really wanted to contrast the potential that the Bahamas has as a blue economy versus oil drilling. So we needed to find charismatic megafauna, the beautiful animals that help people come into the story. And what better way to do it than with dolphins? We're looking for spotted dolphins. They're beautiful, they're curious, hopefully they're gonna be playful. So imagine if there was an oil spill. All of that would be threatened.
This is the time now to fight for our oceans. I've been fortunate to swim with dolphins in many different waters around the world, but to make people really care, I want them to be immersed in the pod. And this is a vision that I have had in my mind for probably 20 years. Looking for Atlantic spotted dolphins that have a home range of several thousand square kilometers.
Have you guys had any dolphin luck today?
No, we're just zigzagging down now.
It's the end of the day. It's 4 p.m. It's not looking like it's going to happen. And we're heading back to Bimini, and the pod finds us.
We found them. We have the dolphins.
We seem to have about 40 to 50 dolphins in the area. And here it is. I'm like, this is amazing. On the first day, get the cameras, jump in the water, and they leave us instantly. I think they get very bored by humans. You're not moving fast enough. You're not interesting enough. You start going in the boat again, they start to bow ride again. We jump in over and over with these dolphins, and they want nothing to do with us. We need to come up with a new game plan if this is going to work. It's frustrating when things don't work, but I've built a career on failing. I photograph wildlife and nature, and that means I'm not in control of the weather, I'm not in control of their behavior, I'm not in control of their emotions. So those 2% moments that come together, those are the ones that stay with you forever, because you have to fight for them.
Tell you why we don't get discouraged, because for the first time, we have a platform that allows us to search for as long as we want to. As we're looking, we're making lunch, we're talking, we're on the phone. I mean, life goes on this boat.
So Christina and I are really supportive.
Sorry.
Anyway.
Paul and I have been together many years now, almost 12. And a huge part of our relationship is our working relationship. I think we complement each other well because we really are two pieces of a puzzle that do two different things.
I am very involved in the diving equipment, the diving operations. That's sort of where I have my experience. Sunday all day prep, full game. But the hardest part for me on this boat is that my life partner is also my boss. So for however hard I work, she works twice as hard.
My main job on the boat, in addition to running the organization and being one of the divers and camera people, is provisioning and making sure that everybody's fed. There's a crowd to feed, there's an organization to run. All right. Oh. Lunch. There's no better way of maintaining team morale than making a nice meal.
We asked the locals their advice on how to find pods of dolphins because we were not having much success initially. And they said, send drones up high in the sky and just do big swaths.
I see something moving.
All right, for real?
Yeah.
Come on. Let's go, guys. Yes. They seem to love the pressure wave of a boat. And it dawned on me, we have scooters on board. Can I put my body in a state of speed that would be interesting enough that these dolphins are like, okay, that's cool, we can play with you. I didn't think it was gonna work, but grabbed my camera, I free dove down with the scooter, and I am flying. And you can just see all the dolphins converge in front of me. And it was quite emotional.
How do you get close enough that you can make images that nobody else has made? It gives you just enough speed that you're able to keep up with a group of dolphins.
To go from this quest for decades of dreaming of this moment, and here it's happening in front of you, and you're filming this. That's the stuff where people are going to start to feel like they're in the moment. And then they're like, I care about these animals. It's hard to believe what we just got. You know, it's so good.
Life-changing.
Today we lived the dream.
We are trying to use dolphins to create a narrative that makes people fall in love with the ocean. You have to be able to see these animals eye to eye.
How can you not care about protecting the Bahamas when you feel this visceral reaction to these animals that call this place home?
Life in the ocean is fragile, but we've begun to disrupt the delicate balance that nature has created. And it's not only affecting the animals, it's also affecting us.
Sea Legacy 1, do you copy?
Yeah, it's Paul, go ahead.
Sea Legacy 1, welcome to Abaco. As you arrive at port, please be aware it's pretty bad over here.
Okay, so that was the follow-up to the first episode, and we got to see some amazing footage with the dolphins. And how would you not want to save that, right?
Yes, you have to make the connections to the things that we recognize and have, empathy for, and then extend that to the whole ecosystem. And dolphins, what better way?
Yeah, and so smart too. And I love the approach. It's like whenever you and Paul talk about the dolphins, you're talking about other human beings, which I love
Yeah,
because
it was
it's
amazing.
yeah, and it goes to the empathy you were talking about earlier as well. I think to really truly feel it, be connected to it. You obviously are doing what you're doing through storytelling, right? Your photography, storytelling, video storytelling. So let's talk a little bit about your approach to storytelling. What are the things that you always do as part of planning a visual story? And then what makes a visual story worth telling?
Yeah, those are really good questions. In our organization, which is not just Sea Legacy, we're part of a collective that has an arm that's like a change.org for the oceans. It's called Only One. And storytelling really is at the top of the funnel. We recognize that not everybody's an environmentalist, that not everybody's in love with dolphins. So we use stories and beautiful visuals to bring other people in. It's how we open the door to say, maybe you've never seen this, and we catch your attention on social media and you decide to come and look at the story. Hopefully, people start learning a little more about the issues, and we do it in a very inspiring, hopeful way. We don't want to guilt anybody into anything or make anybody feel anxiety. But little by little, as you start to understand that we actually can have impact, then you are given the opportunity and only want to take an action. The beautiful part about taking an action is that you're taking an action with hundreds of thousands of other people at the same time. And recognizing the impact that has is the power that the story brings to the issue, right? And so every story that we tell has that funnel component of, we're bringing people down a spiral of introducing them to an issue in a gentle way, and little by little offering an opportunity to be part of the solution.
That's amazing. And another question I have about that is we obviously have a lot of creators with us today who are interested in doing this kind of work as well and want to help and be part of the solution. How should someone who doesn't plan to travel, doesn't have the resources to travel, how they can start telling the story within the place that they are? What should they be looking for, and how should they go about doing that?
Yes, I think there's so much that we can do, because story really is what's going to change the outcome for the future of our planet. And every storyteller has an opportunity to grab a little slice of the issues and, try to invite people into caring, because the biggest problem that we have, Michaela, it's not climate change, it's not biodiversity loss, it's a conflict of values. We have lost our way, and through storytelling we can start redirecting people to the kind of values that are necessary to bring balance back to our planet. So every single one of us can do that. You don't have to be a diver, you don't have to be an explorer, but make sure that your stories always have that component of, sharing what's culturally appropriate in a civilized society. And oh my God, we need an army of people doing that in every aspect of life. So
yeah, for sure. And you shared just a few days back, you shared one of the photos coming out of the fires, the many fires that are burning all over the world basically now. So that seems to me like if you are in one of those parts and you are a video storyteller, that's a great opportunity to tell a story so that more people see it and becomes much more of an urgent situation, right?
absolutely. Yeah. The more that we all share that, there are moments in which the whole narrative shifts, right? These fires are so terrifying, and you just think, the planet is getting warmer. Who's next? And so we need to exert as much public pressure as we can on politicians to stop sitting on their hands and, start doing what's necessary. And that is immediate, urgent action that's going to demand sacrifice and investment. But if they don't do it, who's going to do it?
Yeah, Yeah, we should all do it together.
Mhm.
Let's switch gears just a little bit here, because I do know that you enjoy gear as well. uh,
I
so gear
do.
wise, yeah, you had over 50 pieces of gear on the boat on Sea Legacy 1 in episode 1. What do you shoot with on Sea Legacy 1? What is your kind of like favorite setup? People always ask about that.
I'll tell you, the biggest blessing and the biggest curse of working with Sony is that we have so much good gear. And every time I blink, there's another amazing piece of equipment. And for us, what it means is not just that you get an incredible camera, but you have to actually invest in the housing to bring that camera underwater. So
Yeah.
these are big investments, but a camera like the A1 makes all of that so worthwhile. It is a revolutionary piece of equipment, and it's changed the way that we work. So I'm going to say A1 is the workhorse on Sea Legacy 1 right now, but we're also shooting with Xperia. And Xperia is just a fun, I call it a toy, but it is not a toy. It's a very sophisticated piece of equipment that just allows you to have a great camera and a great video camera in your pocket at all times. So yeah, it is a sweet array of cameras and lenses. And you know, the other one that is amazing for us is the FX6, which is a proper video camera for just shotgun storytelling. And it's so much fun, so much fun. Keep sending us equipment. We love it.
I'm sure there's more coming right now on the way.
Drones.
Drones, yes. Airpeak is next probably for you. Yeah, and the FX6 part of the cinema line, and together with the FX3 and FX9, really incredible cameras. So and by the way, we should tell people that when the Alpha 1 was created, a lot of your feedback went into it as well. That's something that our engineers do. So custom piece of equipment.
Such an honor, and I cannot tell you the fun it is when Sony calls me and says you have to come and meet with engineers, and I'm like, well, they surely are kidding, but no, they pay attention and they they figure out where the buttons should be, and I love being able to provide that feedback because hopefully it makes the equipment better for everybody.
Exactly, definitely. I want to talk a little bit more about how you go about shooting a story, especially a photography story. So let's roll the video that we have prepared of just a little bit behind the scenes that you did on a photo, and then we'll come back.
There's two things to know about me. One is that I love split photography. There's just something amazing about being able to see underwater and then also what's happening above water. So I do a lot of that. And I also love mangroves. Mangroves are very, very important solution for climate change. So I'm always looking for ways to make photographs that make mangroves seem more interesting. So I've had this picture in my head for the longest time of adding something like a starfish or a colorful parrotfish to a mangrove scene. So the other day when we were swimming in this beautiful bay in the southern part of Cape Eleuthera, and I was just, kicking around the mangrove forest, and all of a sudden I see out of the corner of my eye, beautiful orange starfish. There it was, and it was so shallow I could actually stand. So it was amazing, super easy. Easiest split photograph I've ever made.
I love your split photography. One of my absolute favorites is the egg yolk that you have that you did a while back, actually.
The jellyfish, yeah.
The jellyfish, yeah. So it's kind of amazing, and this one came out great. So you talk about the vision you had for the photo, how to make mangroves more interesting to people, and tell us a little bit about mangroves, because I know that they're such an important part of sort of the comeback of the oceans and trying to save all of them. What makes a photo impactful? Like, how do you approach it so that you know it has maximum impact?
Yeah, first of all, I mean, mangroves are a critically important ecosystem on our planet for maintaining balance, just because they are 4 times more efficient at taking carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, sequestering and then spitting back oxygen. So whatever mangrove ecosystems we have left, we have to protect. But they're not very sexy. They're actually hard to photograph in because they tend to grow in muddy, swampy areas, and the water can be murky at times. So finding a mangrove that is growing in clear water is extraordinary. One that's growing on sandy bottom is mesmerizing, and one where there's beautiful creatures like starfish. And so
Yes.
I get to tell a story that makes the mangroves a little more attractive, and hopefully you get people to stop in their tracks and look and say, wow, these trees are extraordinary for our planet, and we should protect them, replant them, and celebrate them.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are sort of getting two stories out of that, right? The it's a great photo, but also there's a little bit of information to come with it, and I've noticed that that's something that you do with your stories is kind of like a little bit of
Yeah.
subliminal messaging almost of like, hey guys, pay attention to this.
Yeah, but if we talk about the technical aspects of a photo like that, you have to shoot with a very high f-stop, like f16 or higher, because you want everything above and below to be in focus. So you need quite a bit of light. You need to strobe underwater so that you can, make the light above and below even. It is challenging. It's not an easy thing to do. And then every time you move the dome, you're creating aberrations in the shape of things. So anyway, you need muscles to keep the dome straight, and you need to be very patient because it takes a lot of trial and error, but I think the results are always worth it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And speaking of patience, it takes patience. You have been able to cultivate so much patience. We saw you on the boat doing all the hard work of the shooting, and then also making the food and doing all these different things.
I know.
So it often comes to the women to do a lot of this work and multitask and go in all these different directions. So I want to talk a little bit about that. It's a topic near and dear to our hearts. We've spent a long time talking about it. You have been a mentor in the first season of Alpha Female, kind of like the godmother of the program. You've been part of our continuing mission ever since. So you've been very close to what we've been trying to do, because this is kind of it's an important topic, and it's very much connected to what we were talking about before: climate change, education, educating women in all these different areas that actually need that kind of thing, has been proven to work. But with this pandemic, we saw a new World Economic Forum report on pay equity. Looks like it'll take about 100 years for women to reach pay equity, according to the current estimate. Obviously, it doesn't have to stay that way, and we can do a lot of things about it. But a lot of people get discouraged in this mission, right? It's hard to see the setbacks. It's hard work to try to get representation and diversity and around us and across the board. So even so, do you see progress in the world when it comes to this? And have we made progress in the past 3 years?
I think whatever progress we were making before the pandemic has slowed down or has reverted to, I feel like we're years behind again, just because the pandemic forced so many parents, so many mothers to stay home and leave whatever dreams they had of a career to take care of family and children. But hopefully it's not going to stay like that, Miguel. I worry about it, because I think the problems that our planet has are so big that they cannot be solved when only half of the population of the planet is participating. And we need women to lend their creative skills, their empathy, their ability to organize and to build community and to lift others and to be caretakers, but also inspiration. All these things that women do are critical for the survival and balance of our planet. So, I worry about it. I'm more worried now than I used to be, but that doesn't mean that we despair. That just means that you look around you and you pick up the women around you. And I've been reading a book that I'm enjoying so much, Glennon Doyle's Untamed.
Untamed, yep.
About the things in our own lives, in our own narratives that hold us back. So I highly recommend that everybody reads it. But this pandemic has been a great disruptor for women's equality, for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I've read Untamed and I really enjoyed it. It's kind of like it's a little bit of a call to action as well, right? It's kind of like it helps you shed those layers that you don't need in order to get to the
That's
core
right.
of the matter. So
Yeah.
um
It could be an
so
accelerator for how we get back to
could be an accelerator. How can women creators get engaged more in what's happening right now? Like, what, given the things that we've just talked about and what you said with all the different challenges that appeared, I know that a lot of them want to be a part of the solution, but how do they make it happen in this context?
So first of all, I've been talking to friends of mine that are in filmmaking and photography, and they are busier than ever. It feels
Mhm.
like every studio is creating content and everybody's busy and has work. So don't sit back, don't wait for somebody to call you. Put yourself out there, because there's opportunities out there, and if you don't rise up to take them, nobody's going to be picking up the phone to call you. So that's number one. In terms of how to insert yourself into making the planet a better place, there's opportunity everywhere, but I think it starts with our personal influence as creators. And with now that we have social media and we all can tell a story in our own space and in our own time, there's no excuse for anybody not to be engaged with talking about solutions and using personal narratives, creativity, humor, whatever it takes to engage the people around us. I don't know, Michaela. It's a unique moment because it is the age of creativity, and so the opportunity is out there for all of us to grab it. So, be the best at what you do, love what you do, and the rest will come.
Yeah, that's great advice, and we've been talking about this idea of not letting things get you down, no matter how hard they are, and about hope and all of that, and you're dealing with a lot of heavy stuff on a regular basis. So how do you not let it drown your hope in the end?
I don't know. I feel like it's a superpower, but it's again a muscle that we all can exercise and just try to figure out, do I sit down now and give up, or is there something I could be doing to make things better? And that's always my mantra. What can I be doing? Who can I be working with? What ideas are out there that I can insert myself into? And it's never been easy, and it's getting harder just because it's so overwhelming. But you're always going to find me in that solution mindset, and I feel like it's healthier to be solution minded and trying to figure out optimistic ways of engaging, because the opposite is pretty devastating. And I understand that a lot of people can't cope, and it's easier to just lock yourself and not think about it, but that's not the solution.
Definitely not the solution. One thing I see that kind of goes hand in hand with what we just said is having a consistent feeling of self-worth. It's really hard to attain for people, especially in the context of what we're talking about. So I feel like it's almost like it's it's really important that you understand your self-worth no matter who you are, wherever you are, and
Mhm.
going for the opportunities that you really want. And how can someone mobilize? How do they find that motivation and that understanding that what they have to bring to the table is very important?
I think the importance of community cannot be underestimated. That's why when you're an alcoholic, you go to the AA meetings, because that builds the sense of community and support. Recognizing that at Sea Legacy, we started building a community called the Tide, where people become part of the solution. And trying to go at it alone, trying to, I get emails from people like, I'm going to start my own foundation, I'm going to start my own organization. I'm like, you have no idea how much work it is. And even though we need a lot more of that, it's a lot easier to just become part of something that's already going somewhere. And finding those communities where you can volunteer or donate or be an expert, whatever it is, it's the best place to start. And they're everywhere. They're all around us. So don't try to go it alone. It's going to take all of us, and there's a lot of momentum already happening. You just have to find your spot in it.
Yeah, it's really something, as you know, that's really driven the Alpha brand, right? Community has been the thing that's been driving us for some time now, and it's really, I think it's because we saw what you just said. We saw the power of people coming together and not being alone. So fully stand behind that message.
It made a difference for me. You know, when I became part of the Sony family, the Sony community, I went from being a photographer trying to go at it alone to being part of a community that lifted me up, and it's changed my life.
And I think we changed each other's lives, and the brand grew up together with you, right? You took a chance on it over a decade ago, and here's where we are together. So that's really inspiring, and inspiring what you're doing. And thank you so much for all of that. What I know that people are looking to you for answers all the time, and sometimes I'm like, okay, just stop asking her for all this stuff.
No, it's okay. I tell you what. I mean, this idea of the change.org, only one, to me, it's revolutionary because people are busy. They don't have time for thinking about, where can I insert myself that we can actually make a difference. So we do that work for people. And right now we have a petition to ban drift nets in the United States forever from a federal state. And I think we're going to win. For me, the 30 seconds that it takes to sign that petition and then to hear back and hear, what, we won one. This one, it worked, and let's do it again and again and again. So we try to do the hard work of figuring out, as a community of people who care, where can we make a difference? Let's make it together. So you're not alone. Find your community, find your tribe.
I love that. I think that's such great advice to end with. Go find the petitions that you care about and sign them. I think that's really, really very actionable insight. Before we go, Christina, we have a friend, a woman who's very important to both of us, whose birthday was yesterday. So we can just say happy birthday, Kayla.
Kayla Linquist, we love you. Happy birthday.
We love you very much. Happy birthday again. And we're so lucky that you're here.
Yeah, lucky. She started it all.
She started it all. So thank you again. A reminder to everyone, omaze.com/oceans. Go find the Tide, sign up, contribute. It's a way to make a difference. And for those of you asking, we have more episodes. We're going to have at least 8 episodes of the Voyage, of Sea Legacy 1, the Voyage, coming up. So you will get to see a lot more of Christina and Paul and what they have to show us from around the world. So go to the Alpha Universe YouTube channel and subscribe so you can get notified of those future episodes. And of course, follow everything that Christina's doing, because it's going to help us. It's going to help us save the world.
Yes, hopefully. Michaela, thank you for being such a champion of our work, and we really appreciate the support and very excited by everything we're doing together. Thank you.
It's our pleasure. Thank you as well. And thank you for spending some time with us today. Really appreciate it.